11 weeks of protests, hundreds of thousands of people, statements from both the local government and the mainland one. There are a lot of elements to what's going on right now in Hong Kong, and that's where we start today's edition of CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. Thank you for watching. Hong Kong is a special administrative region of China. Because it was a British colony before China took over in 1997, the communist nation promised that people in Hong Kong would continue to have many of the rights they had under British control, at least until 2047, when Hong Kong is formally joined with the rest of China. But many people in the city feel that China is chipping away at their rights. Earlier this year, a bill was proposed that would have allowed Hong Kong to extradite or hand over certain crime suspects to mainland China. Critics said that bill could have been exploited to send Hong Kong residents to mainland China for political reasons. China's government and Hong Kong's government have both said that wouldn't happen, and the bill has since been put on hold. But it triggered the protests that have grown in size over the past 11 weekends, and they're taking a toll on both Hong Kong's international image and its economy. There are other objections that people in Hong Kong have when it comes to China, and there are many in Hong Kong who support their local government and that of China. The country says it has ultimate control over what happens in Hong Kong. It's the disagreement over the level of that control that's fueling the unrest in the city.
On Sunday, the skies opened up over Hong Kong, a tropical downpour that did not stop this sea of humanity. A mass protest against the government's handling of the worst political crisis Hong Kong has seen in decades.
If the authorities were hoping that this protest movement would fizzle over time, they were terribly wrong. Even pouring rain hasn't dampened the protesters' enthusiasm.
From Hong Kong's Victoria Park, the crowd trudged west. Hong Kong's been locked in a cycle of unrest for more than 2 months. After 2 separate million-man protest marches last June, the city's appointed government suspended but refused to completely withdraw a proposed law that would allow the extradition of suspects from this former British colony to mainland China. Since then, the violence has only escalated. The authorities denounced protesters, calling them rioting criminals, while the opposition accuses the police of excess use of force. On Saturday, supporters of the government staged their own smaller demonstration supporting the police.
We support the police and want to save in Hong Kong. We want to save, we go to normally job, and we need my health and my baby for the education.
But the government in mainland China has a more ominous message, showing off its security forces on the border with Hong Kong, an obvious warning. But these threats from Beijing haven't quelled Hong Kong's dissent. But earlier this month, a senior Hong Kong government official told CNN there would be no compromise when it comes to the protesters' demands. The test of wills between the government and the people in the streets appears far from over.
From California to Connecticut, at least 15 U.S. states have identified dozens of cases of lung disease, and they might be connected to vaping. It's another term for inhaling vapor from electronic cigarettes. Health officials in several states say they're not sure if vaping definitively caused more than 120 people nationwide to get sick. But the U.S. Centers for Disease Control is investigating. Some of the patients with lung disease have been in the hospital for weeks. Their symptoms include fevers, dizziness, chest pain, coughing, stomach problems, and having trouble breathing. States are not required to report lung diseases related to vaping, so experts say the issue can be difficult to keep track of. But in Wisconsin, the state with the most confirmed and suspected cases, a respiratory disease specialist said they involved otherwise healthy young people who had severe respiratory illnesses and no signs of infection. Wisconsin's government says all of the patients had said they vaped before they were hospitalized, but what's not known is exactly what products they vaped. It's possible, but not certain, that they were mixed with other chemicals. E-cigarettes are relatively new, and health experts don't know yet what kinds of short and long-term risks they carry. 10-second trivia. What U.S. cities' professional sports teams include the Wings, the Rangers, and the Stars? Houston, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, Dallas, Texas, or Sacramento, California? All of these are the mascots of teams from the Dallas, Texas area. There's a nonprofit in Dallas named for Richard Miles. He was imprisoned for 15 years for a crime he didn't commit. When an appeals court found him innocent in 2012, it awarded him more than $1.2 million, which he says he used to pay his tithe, buy his mom and himself houses, and start Miles of Freedom to help others transition back into society from prison.
I was 19 when I got locked up. I was an innocent man. I received 60 years.
Just down the road, you can see Cofield Unit, and Cofield Unit is one of the biggest prisons in Texas. This was one of the fields that we worked in.
I oftentimes say May 15, 1994 is the day that Richard Ray Miles Jr. died. I became a number, 72, 87, 16. My mom would always tell me, when you look out the window, don't look at the bars, look at the sky. I could change my perception within the place of incarceration.
Good morning.
Morning.
All right, thank you for coming out to another workshop of Miles of Freedom.
The idea really started from inside, seeing the barriers and the recidivism. People get out and they come right back in. I said, if I ever get out, man, we're gonna start a program and we're gonna help people.
Acknowledgement, transparency, and forgiveness. These are the three essential things we need when we're coming back home.
17 years after my wrongful incarceration, I had my full exoneration. I was 34 years old. I saw these points of despair for people coming home from prison. There are not a lot of opportunities, particularly for South Dallas.
When I got released because of my crime, they wouldn't nobody hire me at the time.
Consider us as that support system. We're not gonna go get it for you, but we'll go get it with you.
We provide case management. We help them with birth certificates, driver's licenses, housing, resume building.
At the end of the day, be confident in your change.
One of the most tangible things that we also provide is confidence. Once a person receives that confidence, you can see the transformation in them.
I spent a lot of time destroying people, helping them destroy their lives. Now I want to be the one to be like, hey bro, you need any type of help, here I am. My goals in life is not to be the person that they have on file, but to build a better life for me and my family.
We have a transitional employment loan service to put them in a position that they can provide for their family. And every 2 weeks, we go to area prisons. It's about an hour and a half from Dallas.
Many people stop seeing their family members when something like this occurs, and this is the time to step in.
Their dad loves them. We put a smile on his face when we show up. We do this for him.
The opportunity to see these families hug their husbands, their brothers, their cousins, and then come back with the comfort that their loved one is okay. It's like one of the best things that this organization does. At the age of 19, all I had was 60 years in a bunk. And God has given me so much.
One more time.
Acknowledgement, transparency, and forgiveness.
That's what we want to do.
I feel like the people in prison are the ones that really, really need to know that coming home is possible. Being successful is possible.
It's time to play Name That Fossil. Let's see, it measures a little over 7 inches. Experts say it's thousands of years old. It's kind of flat with ridges on the bottom. I know, it's a woolly mammoth tooth. That's what this is believed to be. It was discovered by a boy playing near a creek bed in Ohio. He found the fossil jutting out of the mud. He's hoping to get it back so he can show it off at school. But is this really a mammoth molar? I mean, it's so old, it's hard to know the tooth. Maybe an elephantine tooth fairy dropped it off after leaving a carrot under its pillow. That would have enamored scientists who didn't think it was just pulp. They'd crown the kid with getting to the root of an ancient mystery and making the mammother of all discoveries. I'm Carl, a tooth for CNN.